Hi, everyone. Massive welcome to Tableau Live Asia. These has been strange times because the COVID-19 situation has shut down so much of our world. And yet, we find that, especially the data people, we've all been more busy with data in these changing times. A little bit about myself. My name is Rahul Trehan. I'm part of Tableau's customer success team. Been with Tableau for the last 6 years. I love supporting customers in their data journey. Uh, and I'm really excited to talk to you about leading through data with the power of data analytics. So let's get started. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this slide, which has been Tableau's mission since the start of time, is that we help people see and understand data. And this mission is a lot more relevant today than any other time in the history because of this resulting acceleration towards the digital world that is happening because of the pandemic situation. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this slide on flattening of the curve. And don't worry, I'm not going to talk for the next 20 minutes of flattening of the curve. We've all seen this slide enough in the media cycle playing out. But what this slide really shows is that when we humans are faced with a challenge, we all actually turn to data. And data and a visual becomes really the common language for us to understand that situation. We understand from the visual and the data what is the situation. Based on that understanding, we will come up with certain action plans. We'll formulate policies, we'll take some actions to rectify that situation. And then again, we turn back to the data to feed it back into the loop to see, those actions, did they actually result in any improvement? So that's a continuous cycle of improvement that I think we humans have seen or we adapt to when we want to overcome a challenge. So let's talk about using the power of data and analytics. Scenario planning and advanced analytics is going to be a key when it comes to dealing with these situations and handling the situations. We've been lucky to have in Salesforce our own a thought leader on scenario planning, Peter Schwartz. He's a worldwide leader on scenario planning, and he's talking about the U-shaped recovery and the importance of data and scenario planning to handle those situations. And when we look at the future, there's going to be a lot of variables in the futures around your pandemic rates, your macroeconomic factors like interest rates, vaccine rates, and these are all going to affect the way the business growth happens as we move forward. But as a business, if we could take all these variables, put them into a scenario planning, we could come up with actions and policies to actually handle those situations much better in a planned way rather than unplanned. So let's talk about the shift that is happening, which is the digital shift. Now, the shift to digital is also driven by the consumer, which is at the center of every business. We've all been locked in our houses. We've all been locked in a way that we're all going back more to our apps for e-commerce. We go to our apps for our entertainments. So a lot of we as consumers are using a lot more apps in the digital world. And what that means for businesses is that as your customer moves to the digital, how do you adapt and make that digital transition to serve your customer in a better way? So one of the example stories I want to share with you is Starbucks, a brand that we all love, your favorite latte. When they were faced with the challenge of COVID-19 situation, they adapted to that change by making sure that the consumers are now able to order their favorite lattes on an app. And then they changed the drive-through operation so you can go through drive-through and in a completely contactless way, you can get your favorite latte. They also used the data around the COVID-19 situation and built Tableau dashboards, which were rolled out to regional managers and outlet managers, so they could use that information and figure out for themselves how and when to open those outlets. Again, a great example of how do you use this data to reopen your workplace and allow and empower your people to take those decisions. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this buzzword digital transformation in the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years. And I'm saying the buzzword because it was really I would say in a hype cycle and people were talking about it, but it was not an imperative. But that has actually shifted now. It's no more an imperative. It's no more a buzzword. This is a crucial thing for every business to be able to make that transition in order to be able to operate and grow in future. Let's talk about, so they're talking about the digital transit. Every company needs to make the digital transformation. And the key to the success of the digital transformation would be your data transformation. Because the only way to be able to understand whether a digital transformation is happening in the right way is to be able to get that data and understand what are those changes? Are those changes working well? So you need to have that continuous loop that we talked about, as in the case of flattening of the curve, to look at the data, to understand whether those projects are delivering those transitions to your operating model, to your e-commerce model, and understand whether you're reaching the business outcomes. So let's talk about the key themes that all companies need to manage to lead through these changing times. The first theme here is really stabilizing your business. So how do you create stability? Some of the questions that you need to ask from your data and have plans around it is, how do you respond and adapt your operations quickly? How do you care for your employees? How do you monitor and communicate those changes in a timely fashion to your consumers as well as your employees? The second theme is really around reopening your business. So the important questions that every company needs to understand is, what kind of changes do you really need to make to reopen your business, right? You need to understand that from your data and come up with policies to reopen your business. And the third theme is really around growing your business, right? So as we come out of these situations, there's going to be a U-shaped recovery. There's going to growth come in. You need to be ready for that growth. So the questions you need to understand is, how are you going to serve your digital customer at the center of your business? How are you going to serve to him better through your digital channels? How are you going to enable your employees with this explosion of data, with the skills that they have, so that they can use this data and analyze it and help to grow the business, right? So those are the three key themes that every business will need to take a look at and use the data to lead through these changing times. So I want to talk about some of the examples of companies who have done a phenomenal job of using the data and the power of analytics to lead through these times. The first one here being Click and Sofa, also known as KNS. They are a leading provider of manufacturing, equipment and packaging. Now KNS, they were also faced with this COVID-19 challenges, right? Since they are in the manufacturing business, with the whole regulations around social distancing and not being able to have the whole workforce on your floors, that affected the way they needed to do business. So they had to pivot to a strategy to ensure business continuity. Now, one of the key things that they did was really enabling the employee productivities. As more and more people were working from home, they needed to ensure that their managers and engineers were able to work from the home. So they built some operational dashboards which allowed those managers and employees. So I could be a manager sitting, working from home. I can look at that operational dashboard. I can look at what are the issues happening in the production floor, and then I can take and I can collaborate with my engineers and look at those issues and get the insights and deploy resources to fix them in real time. A great example of enabling the productivity through the power of data, which really helped them to have that business continuity. Another area where they, I think, have done a great job of utilizing the data was really working with the suppliers. So they have a lot of suppliers in their value chain who build these components for them. And they're feeding all this data into a data lake, which a lot of companies have. And now what they do with that data coming into the data lake is they build some dashboards into Tableau, which have intelligent logic to do anomaly detection. And they use some really creative data-driven alerts built on those top of the dashboards, which can notify the managers when those quality issues happen. And when they look at those alerts, they can take an action, they can work with the supplier to improve the quality, on a continuous basis. Another example that I want to talk about here is, TVS Credit. TVS Credit is one of the largest motorcycle manufacturers in India. They're also one of the largest vehicle lenders in India. So they're using this dashboard that you're seeing on the screen to actually help employees. Now, as part of the reopening of the business, it's really important that we take care of our employees and customers. And employees are very important to any business's success. So they use this dashboard to work with close to 14,000 pan-India employees to understand what kind of help was needed by different employees categories, as you can see on the dashboard, whether it's medical help, whether it's any kind of financial help. And as soon as they rolled out this dashboard, they identified hundreds of employees who benefited. They're providing this continuous data to the team managers who can use this dashboard to understand the needs of their teams and proactively help those employees to actually get through these changing times. Again, a great example of, as part of reopening your business, how do you use the data to promote employee well-being? Excuse me. Another thing that the TVS Credit believes in is in the power of data to enable quick decision making. And as part of that belief, they've invested heavily now to train their employees on data and analytic skills as they focus on their career and upskilling as they move forward in their journey with TVS Credit. So let's talk about some of the key ingredients needed for data transformation. Now, one of the key ingredients for this data foundation would be access to timely data for all. And I would emphasize here on the timely and all, right? Because a lot of companies have data which is available, but that data might be available to only a few people. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this case in which the data reaches to you, whether it's a week late or it's 2 days late or a month late. And if you do not have the timely data available to you, you cannot get the insights in the time that you need them to make those changes and take those decisions to improve the outcome. So really a key ingredient for this data transformation and digital transformation would be to make sure that the data is democratized. It's available to everyone who needs that to improve their job, to improve their business outcomes, and it's reaching them in a timely fashion. So it's relevant. As you saw in the KNS example, it's a great story around not only they're using the data, but they make sure that the data is available from their data lakes to everyone relevant in a timely fashion, as well as they make sure that it's available to all. So all levels of the business have that access to those operational dashboards, to those quality control dashboards that are needed to grow their business. The next key ingredient needed is to build a culture of self-service analytics for you to really make that jump into digital transformation. Now, we've all seen that raw data is like a raw crude oil. And raw crude oil, as we know, does not have much economic value. Unless you take that raw crude oil and refine it through certain tools, then it becomes valuable petrochemicals, right? So just like that, raw data that sits within companies in their raw Excel files, CSV files, your databases, your data lakes, does not have much value unless you enable your people with the power of analytics and Tableau tools, so that they can then apply the Tableau Analytics on top of that raw data in a self-service fashion, so that they're not stuck or dependent on someone, and there is no delay for them to get that insight and do that analytics themselves, get the insight that they need for their business, and take a decision and those actions to improve their business functions. We've seen customers in APAC, Bank Mandiri in Indonesia, Entity Docomo in Japan, Honeywell across APAC, and in many others in APAC, who have put key emphasis on building this data culture by training thousands of their employees through Tableau e-learning and other initiatives, and running those internal training programs to really enable everyone with those skills, so that the raw data can be transformed into something powerful, something that will drive the business impact for them. The next key ingredient is really, we talked about the scenario planning, right? We talked about the U-shaped recovery. Now, as part of that, predictions and scenario planning is going to play a key role. Now, Tableau does a great job at understanding the current situation. It helps everyone to get the current insights, which are very valuable to understand the current situation. But now, being part of Salesforce, we get more powerful tools like Einstein AI Analytics. And when you combine something like an Einstein AI, which can now help the business to actually look at those scenarios in the future. It can help you to predict those scenarios. And then once you look at those predictions along with the Tableau platform, you can manage the past, the current, as well as the future. So that's going to be a really powerful combination when you start looking at Tableau, Einstein AI along with Tableau to do scenario planning. So there's a lot of resources that Tableau has built to, say if you've been stuck, sometimes when we get started with a project, we face the challenge of where to get started, right? We need inspiration, we need ideas. In Tableau, along with our partners, we've built a lot of starter kits that you can leverage today to get started. Some of these are listed here. I would highly encourage for you to check out these templates. So for general business, you have the COVID-19 starter template along with the data hub. You also have certain webinars on certain industry-specific information on how, if you're in the FSI industry, how you could leverage that data to do risk planning, risk mitigation. University of Chicago has published their work on the healthcare industry to use this data on Tableau Public, which is again a great resource to look at these examples that are being built and shared by the community to help each other. So I would really encourage you guys to check out these resources in Tableau Public to get started, to get those ideas, to watch these webinars, and then take these ideas back and get started with analyzing, applying it to your own data and scenarios. Talking about applying, creating a data culture, right? A key element to data culture, which will enable the data transformation and hence the digital transformation, would be upskilling your organization. And we have seen a massive uptake in e-learning in the last few months. And e-learning is a resource that can be scaled out in a very efficient way to all your employees to enable them with the skills that they need to harness the raw data. As you can see that we have had more than 250,000 e-learners on this platform. And in combined, they've gained more than 57,000 skill badges, which I'm sure you might have seen on the LinkedIn and other social media platforms, people trying to display the skills. So that's going to be a key element for you to use to build this data culture for your whole organization. Tableau Blueprint, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. So as part of this digital transformation and building this data culture, you will have to look at all aspects of data culture. And I would encourage looking at Tableau Blueprint, which have all the components of agility, proficiency, community, governance, that a big enterprise or a small enterprise really needs to take care to have an overall platform strategy to enable a data culture across the organization. So I would encourage to check out those sessions on Tableau Blueprint in Tableau Live Asia. That'll give you a wealth of information on how to utilize some of these resources that exist and look at those capabilities and build those capabilities that you need or might be relevant to your journey with data. We're here to help you. We would love to reach out to your Tableau team. We would love to understand what projects you might be thinking of as part of leading through this change. Reach out to your Tableau teams, and we'll love to help you on those. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Don't forget to give us your feedback. And I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you, everyone.